Roaders, let me take off my reading glasses here. Ah, there we go. These are just some prop costume glasses that I've got laying around. I've always been meaning to wear these for a stream or something. Uh, Welcome to the Felroad Express. I'm Joshua Thomas, and we're not talking about Final Fantasy VII today, which you see right there. We're going to be talking about Final Fantasy Origins, Stranger of Paradise, or Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. And let's get into that and let's start looking at the footage that I have of it so far. I have only played through the first mission and just got started on some extra side missions. So that's how far I am in this game. We're going to be talking about my initial thoughts of it so far. So here we go. Definitely some blood and gore in this game. This is an M-rated game. It is not your typical Final Fantasy. It is your Souls-like kind of a first for Final Fantasy. It looks like they're taking a delve um, into the mature realm to see what kind of stuff is going on here. What have we got going on here? Here we go. All right. It looked like we lost connection there for a second, but we're back. So, way to derail my train of thought. I want to talk about the opening here, and we've got it on screen. And let's actually move back a little bit, because yeah, we've got the image of Garland here, and so far the story. There's Tiamat, and the cool thing is there's like some person inside Tiamat's chest. We've got more story so far than okay. Hopefully everything is going good with our stream. It still says we are live, and I do apologize for that, guys, but it looks like we should be receiving enough data. So we will continue on. Anywho, so the story so far, and once again I have to back up. I apologize for we had a stream error. I was getting the error messages. So there's so much story so far as compared to the original game. You see there we're battling Tiamat, and this is a boss that we encounter much later in the game, in the original Final Fantasy as well, the very first Final Fantasy ever created. So later on here, you're going to see that something strange goes on. It's really interesting to see the similarities between Stranger of Paradise and the original Final Fantasy. So yeah, here some weird things going on with Tiamat, and it's like we're pulled into some kind of black void, and I feel like there's some time travel going on here. And interestingly enough, there's a cutscene here that is restricted view, but then we get into the tutorial, and it doesn't say like they learn how to fight in this game. It says regain your memories of combat. So something strange has gone on here. Even at the very beginning, seems to be some kind of time travel going on here, and we're like Tiamat is like resetting us, like sending us back in time, making us lose our memories. And here we have the Warriors of Light starting off, and it's really interesting. I've got the original. I played this Final Fantasy for the first time on the Nintendo Entertainment System back when I was like 5 or 6 years old. That kind of ages me a little bit. But here's the player's guide, or the explorer's handbook, and inside it actually talks about right there about how they each have a crystal, and the crystals are dark, like they aren't emitting light. but it also talks about Garland's crystal, and that there is this black orb left behind where you face Garland, or in this case, Chaos Advent. And that crystal is black as well, but it's not the same kind of black. It's like the crystal left behind by Garland is emitting darkness from within, whereas your crystals just simply aren't emitting light. So you've got to charge these crystals up, and the way to do that is by defeating the 4 fiends. It's really cool to look back in time at this book right here. This comes with the game, and yet this is also a walkthrough of a good portion of the game, all the way up until you get the first airship ever in Final Fantasy. It's in the original game. Airships have been here since game 1. So it's going to be interesting to see how they explain things for this game, because in this game you simply just have this map of the world, which is actually very similar to the map that you have here. Yeah, I have actually, it also comes with the original game, a large map, and I think I've showed it in a previous video. I can't remember how long ago it is. I'm going to keep talking here even though it's saying data is slow. I don't know why it's going slow. But anyway, it's a really big map that you actually could use to figure out where to go. Instead of like an on-screen map, you had a physical hard paper map. It also had maps of dungeons on the opposite side of the map, and then you also had a bestiary on another really big fold-out sheet of paper. So it's interesting to see the story so far, and they've certainly expanded heavily upon it. I won't go into any more detail than that because I don't want this video to be too long just on my initial thoughts of the game. But I'm definitely interested to see what kind of time travel elements they're working up here. It definitely feels like something weird's going on. And also, Sarah mentions that the Knight Garland disappeared years ago, and she's waiting, she wants him to return. And I'm wondering if she already knows that Jack is that knight. This isn't really a spoiler because you kind of see it in the trailer, but Jack is the knight that she's been waiting on. Does she already know that it's him and she wants him to return? In other words, she wants his memories to return? That's something I look forward to figuring out. But it's going to take a while. Compared to other Souls-like games, it seems that there's already a ton of story in this compared to other Souls-likes. In other Souls-likes, you're really just kind of put into battle. It's very, very minuscule. It's very bare bones. And not to say that it's not good. It's just interesting to see the differences between it. And I will say that as far as Souls-likes go, I've only ever played the original Dark Souls. So let me know how some of the modern-day Souls-likes in Elden Ring are in terms of storytelling. But let's go into combat since we see that on screen right now. Combat is also something that seems way more complex than any Souls-like that I've played or have seen played. The combat, it uses a job system, which Final Fantasy fans will know is popular throughout the series. It's used in many of the other games, and it's also one of the favorites among a lot of people. Final Fantasy Tactics may very well be the one to utilize it the best, but I've also heard that I think Final Fantasy III also utilized it well, and I haven't played that one yet. But the job system is also one of my favorites, and so when I saw that it was going to be in Stranger of Paradise, it actually intrigued me. And to see it put to the test here just in the first mission, it's really interesting to see. Whereas in Dark Souls, you chose a class and you were that class for the entire game. Here, you have a class and you can switch between classes. You get to load out two classes at once, and you can create other loadouts that have other classes, or just switch your character stats around your battle settings. So it's even a little bit overwhelming in the very beginning trying to learn everything, but also it's not perfect. I'm still learning it. I'm still getting used to, playing Souls-likes again, as opposed to Final Fantasy 7 or 15, where it's like attack, 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 and just defend when you need to, keep attacking, heal. I've got to get back into the Souls mode where, okay, this little peon goblin can kick my butt and kill me if I'm not careful. And later on in the first mission, bombs. Man, I got killed by those so many times just trying to learn how to use the mage's magic system. I accidentally was casting fire at them, trying to learn how to cast water. So it's cool that so far each of these different classes definitely has a different feel to it, and it's kind of, aside from the mage, the other classes are kind of just like, hey, how do you want to fight the enemy? Do you want to have slow, powerful attacks? Do you want to have really rapid, weaker attacks? Do you want to exploit the enemy's weaknesses? Do you want to cast magic that may have an elemental advantage over some of the enemies? And the complexities go on from there, especially in the tree system. There's also the stealing of abilities, which I really like. So you do a normal guard, but then you can do a special type of guard that actually depletes your stagger gauge. But also, if you successfully guard against an enemy attack, there's the possibility that you could steal that attack and use it for yourself. So in the case of bombs, if they throw fire at you and you use that special type of blocking ability, you can steal that fire and use it later on to throw it back at an enemy. That's really interesting, and I like this push and pull dynamic. Of course, I have to make it hard because it's a Souls-like. And so there's this, hey, look, if you pull this off, you can recover some MP and steal this ability. But if you don't pull it off, all you've really done is lowered your stagger gauge. And if your stagger gauge gets all the way to the bottom, you as the main character, get staggered, which doesn't really happen in other Final Fantasies. Once again, I've most recently played 7 Remake and 15. You can stagger the enemies. The enemies can rarely, stun or freeze or stagger you, and it's really a different way of playing to see this little goblin or this bomb. These peon enemies are staggering me, leaving me very vulnerable, and it happens in the boss battles too. But let's also talk about the look of the game. So far, it's beautiful. The scenery, like the grass plains you see here, are definitely they look good. I don't want to say that they are like PS5 quality. They're definitely as good looking as the PlayStation 4 era of games. I want to say the cutscenes. They look really good too, but PS4 cutscenes also look great. So the facial animations too, their expressions are a little deadpan, and then the outfits are pretty crazy. I can safely say that the original Final Fantasy, it was a medieval sort of fantasy. It was definitely not modern day where they have cell phones and this mixture of, medieval attire and modern day technology. So there's Sarah, and of course, she and many of the other characters around this game wear this sort of Renaissanceian or medieval-ish clothing, and then you've got people wearing, this mixture of modern day clothing as well. So it's definitely this weird mix of modern and old-fashioned, and I think it kind of works for this, but it's definitely interesting, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. The characters, their animations aren't perfect, definitely compared to, say, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I know is the golden goose of Square Enix. So yeah, they're going to make sure they spend the top dollar on that. Whereas this game, they're not going to spend as much. It's more about the combat, I think. More people are going to come to this game for the combat, more so than the storytelling and the graphics. The graphics, like right here in this combat scene, they look good. They look good enough, and that's really all you need. Now let's talk about. We'll finish off by talking about a couple of the extra things that you can do here. So when you're in towns, you don't just walk around. You just have conversations, and basically in Cornelia, you just have conversations in front of a fountain with just random people, and these conversations really don't amount to much. Some of them really don't even give you more lore or story. They're just kind of there. But you kind of have to sift through those to find the ones that do have a little bit of interesting story elements to them. Once you get Neon in your party after defeating Chaos Advent, there is one person you can talk to that triggers a conversation with Neon. And so you learn a little bit more about her, and that's interesting. But you're going to have to sift through, I would say, 5 or 6 boring or mundane conversations to get to those interesting ones. And it's sort of thankfully, but not thankfully, that they're also very short, like maybe 2 or 3 sentences long a piece. It's almost like, why did they bother? But at the same time, finding those little gems of conversations is good, and I hope that we continue to I hope they improve as the story goes on, but something tells me they're not going to. So yeah, I'm gonna say maybe 5 or 6 conversations, and one of them's gonna be good. And then there's also the smithy, or the blacksmith, where you're going to be able to modify weapons and tear down weaker weapons. Another good thing to know is that you're going to pick up a ton of stuff in this game. You're going to spend a lot of time in the menus sifting through items, figuring out what's the best loadout for your party. Definitely gaining affinity with the jobs that you're doing. Really important. If you have any affinity with a job, even if it's a job that you're not equipped with, so like here, the Lancer, and I think I'm the warrior or the fighter and the Lancer. If you say have some mage affinity, the mage job will also gain a little bit of experience. If I'm not mistaken, that should be how it works. So yeah, gaining affinity sometimes may be more important than the level of an item. And you can also go into your settings and set what you automatically pick up. You can set it to where you will only automatically pick up 1-star and above items. So the most common items don't get picked up. And you can still manually pick them up. Like you can see that there's an item on the floor right there. It was a level 7 item. I can leave it there, or if I'm interested in it, I can press the touchpad and pick it up after this battle is over. But oh yeah, battles are brutal. It's definitely M-rated, and yeah, then there's the side missions. I've just gotten to the point where I can get to my first side missions, and it looks like some side missions are going to be mandatory in this game for grinding purposes in order to get higher level items so that you can continue the storyline in the regular or normal campaign, as it's going to tell you what your desired average item level is for the game. So in mission number 2, which I haven't done yet, it's like I'm almost halfway there to the recommended item level of the stuff that I have equipped. Whereas this side mission had its recommended level was below that. So I was like, okay, I'm more prepared for this side mission than I am for the main quest. So there is going to be some grinding in this game, and you definitely. I'll say this about combat too. Sometimes you can feel like you're button mashing, but you can see here in my fight with Chaos Advent that button mashing is not going to win the game. You cannot win the game by button mashing. You have to think strategically. You've got to watch the enemy, try to guess their moves and learn their moves. Yeah, you're going to die a lot. So that's those are my initial thoughts. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm intrigued. The story, like especially when you meet Neon here, there's some weird dialogue. The dialogue's not perfect. It's a little too on the point sometimes, but I'm enjoying the gameplay so far. Come to this for the gameplay and maybe the storyline as well. I think the story is going to improve. They've definitely set up some mysteries that I'm curious about, but it's not maybe on the level of one of the regular numbered Final Fantasies, but they've definitely taken the original Final Fantasy and done something interesting with it. So I can't wait to see where this goes, and I look forward to playing this more. So